everybody, and welcome back. This is the first week of Realmathon, and if you guys don't know what Realmathon is about, I will link everything down below in the description bar, but this is a readathon hosted by Covers with Cassidy, and she has asked me to be the host of Team Ilma, and we are going to be battling against other realms to help close the rift and make sure that we are the last one standing. Team Ilma is the sci-fi and non-fiction team, but you can read any genre that you want. I am focusing on science fiction this month, and each week is going to have a different theme. This week is hybrid genres. So I'm going to be reading hybrid genres that involve a sci-fi. That could be sci-fi fantasy, sci-fi romance, sci-fi thriller, sci-fi horror, any of those hybrid genres where there is a pretty equal amount of sci-fi and another element. And I'm really excited to be doing the hybrid genres this week because sci-fi hybrids are some of my favorite books to read, especially sci-fi thrillers and sci-fi horror. I just tend to love those books. I feel like they bring so much to the table because they just have so many different elements and things going on, and they are so usually very fast-paced and super exciting. So let me show you guys the books that I'm thinking about reading this week, and hopefully I can rack up a lot of points for Team Ilma. So one of the books that I'm hoping to read this week is Parasite by Mira Grant. This is one of Shauna Maguire's pen names, and under Mira Grant, she typically writes the more horror sci-fi type of books. I've read Into the Drowning Deep. I loved it. I read Feed, really enjoyed it, Rolling in the Deep. So I have not yet found a Mira Grant book that I just actively disliked. I'm hoping that this one will be really good. I'm hoping that it leans a little bit more on the science horror side of things than Feed did back like into the Drowning Deep territory, but we'll see, and I have really high hopes for it. Then I'm super excited to be reading Pines by Blake Crouch. This was gifted to me by Kaylee, and Lexi has told me over and over again to read it. Actually, she said don't read it, I'm scared, but it's one of her favorite series, and she said she loves the second and the third book even more than this first one, so I'm very excited. I don't know a whole lot about this one. Somehow, even with the show, I have managed to avoid spoilers about what this book really is. I know it's a hybrid, and I know that it involves Agent Burke, who wakes up in the town of Wayward Pines and has no memory, and he is a special agent and is trying to figure out how we got there and what's going on. So excited to read this one, can't wait. It's also super short, but it is a hybrid, it is a sci-fi, and I think it was previously indie, so it's gonna hit lots of bonus points. Then we have one that I had never heard anybody talk about and just randomly picked up in the bookstore one day, and that's We Have Always Been Here by Lena Wynn. This one is a sci-fi horror about a woman that is on a ship that's going to like explore a new planet, and when they get there, the crew starts to slowly go insane, and she has to figure out what's going on. It sounds really interesting. Again, I've never heard anybody talk about it. I don't know anything about it. I'm just going purely off the blurb and vibes here, but I'm hopeful that I will really enjoy this because it sounds amazing and I need more sci-fi horror in my life. And then I'm probably going to be reading The Immortality Thief by Taryn Hunt. This is another sci-fi thriller, I believe. I'm hopeful that this is good. I think that Becca read it and enjoyed it. I don't think she loved it, but did enjoy it. It's a large book, but I think it'll be relatively easy to get through, so hopeful on this one. And then last but not least, I'm hoping to get one more book read. I don't know what that'll be. I have got The Paradise One by David Wellington is an option for me. That is a really long one, but it is a new sci-fi horror that I've heard good things about. Just came out from Orbit. And then the other one is The Passengers by John Mars. Lexi started reading that on sprints and fell in love with it and was having such a really good reaction to it that I just wanted to pick it up. So if I get time, I may try to get to The Passengers as well. That one's by John Mars, and it's following a group of people that got locked in their self-automated cars, and they're all going to collide at some random point if the public doesn't decide who to save. So I thought that that was really interesting. It's a techno thriller, so it's a science fiction thriller. I really wanted to get science fiction fantasy on this list somewhere, but honestly, I don't know of a lot. I know like Ashes of the Sun is, but I've already read that obviously. So if you've got any sci-fi fantasy recommendations, let me know down below. This is gonna be a like 60-40 split at least of sci-fi and fantasy. So let me know because I'm looking for those. I tried to Google a bunch of them and I couldn't really find anything that was like, this is definitively sci-fi fantasy, because everything is just classified as both, even though it's not, it's one or the other. Anyway, I rant and I digress, but I'm excited. Let's jump back to the first day of Realmathon where I told you what I'm going to be reading first. Hello guys, good morning. A shaky hand clip for you because I am literally, I mean, it's not even 7 a.m. and I am going to work, but I wanted to say happy Realmathon day. It's not officially April 1st yet. We are starting Realmathon at 6 p.m. my time or midnight UK time. So technically it starts today and I'm so excited. I am going to show you guys what I'm going to be starting with, and you're going to see like a more official intro clip. This is not the intro clip, but I did want to show you guys what I was starting with, so let me go grab that. Okay, so the patrons voted and I'm going to be starting with We Have Always Been Here. This is a sci-fi horror that is about a ship that crashes on a planet and people start to slowly go insane. And I've heard nobody talk about it, but I'm really excited. I think I'm going to be listening to the audiobook for this one to start, and we'll see how far I get. I'm excited. It's Realmathon. Oh, hi everybody. Hello. So, Realmathon has officially started, and this week you guys have already seen that I'm going to be doing hybrid genres. So sci-fi blended with something else. A lot of the ones that are on my list are mostly sci-fi horror blends. I think I have one sci-fi mystery. I would love to do a sci-fi fantasy, but I'm not 100% sure if I have one of those on my list. So I just don't feel like there are a lot of sci-fi fantasy out there. So if you guys have any recommendations for those, leave them down in the comments below. But as you probably saw this morning, I was starting with We Have Always Been Here. I'm actually about 30% into this so far. It's following Park, who is a psychologist that is on this ship that is going to investigate a planet to see if it's habitable for life now that Earth has been completely overtaken by plants. And she is a clinical psychologist, but is only really there in an observatory setting. She is thought to be a spy, even though that's not really her intention. And there are a lot of androids on the ship that have taken the place of humans because they take up less room, and if something were to happen, you can throw them out the airlock and you don't have to worry about it. So there are a lot of androids on this ship, and people are naturally very hesitant about them. So they get to this planet, and slowly but surely, one by one, all of the crew members start to have hallucinations and seemingly go insane, and Park is trying to figure out what's going on. That sounds incredible. It sounds so good, but I'll be honest with you, so far I'm quite bored. We have had a couple of like transcripts with other people that were on this planet that were interesting. We have seen one person have the hallucinations and have the kind of insanity type moment, but it's been few and far between. We've done a lot of talking about androids and what they are and what they mean to the society and and that's fine, but I'm just not overly engaged. So since I do have the audiobook for this one and I can listen to it, and I'll be honest with you, the print in this thing is like 9-point font. It is so stinking small. On sprints tonight, because I can read with my eyeballs, I think I'm gonna go off script and do the Immortality Thief by Taryn Hunt. This is also a sci-fi horror that Becca read not too long ago and really enjoyed it. We both got it through the Goldsboro Sci-Fi Fantasy Fellowship, so mine has the beautiful sprayed edges, and I'm excited to read this one. Do I really know anything about it? No. Far off the edge of human existence, beside a dying star, lies a nameless ship, abandoned and hidden, lost for a millennium. But there are secrets there, terrible secrets that would change the fate of humanity, and eventually someone will come looking. I'm excited to give it a try. It looks really thick, but it's a relatively like short in height book. And like, for example, it's quite short. And the print is significantly bigger than this one. So I don't think it'll take me too long to get through it. And I really wanted to focus on this since I don't have an audiobook. So I'll check back in, hopefully when I'm roughly halfway through. We are currently on kickoff sprints, and we've already had a little friendly competition going on. Lexi and I battled it out. But since it's only been the first week, just so that you guys are aware, there are going to be a lot of sprints. So please go check those out. I think that it's going to be a ton of fun. We are all just we're having a good time. We're picking at each other, but we're having a good time. So I'm going to go back on kickoff sprints. We're going to be going for a while yet, and I'm going to go recruit for Team Elma while we're at it. So it is the first official day of Realmathon, but the second day of kind of reading. And when I left you guys yesterday, I was reading We Have Always Been Here, and I wasn't loving it. So I've talked to someone who has read this since then, and they said that it really didn't get a ton better, that it turns into just a very basic thriller, and they ended up not enjoying it very much and just thinking it was pretty meh. And honestly, I don't have time for meh books in the month of April. So I think I'm going to be DNFing this one. Mostly I was just bored. I did make it to about the 35% mark. We had a couple of horror elements here and there, but for the most part, there really just wasn't a lot of it. It was a lot of discussion and exposition about androids, and our main character was just very bland. She didn't have a lot of personality to her, and the little bit of personality that she did have was just constantly worried about what this boy was going to think of her, man was going to think of her. So I just kept waiting on it to be more exciting and to engage me, because this sounded like such a cool horror thriller concept or horror sci-fi concept, but it didn't really work out that way. So I think that I'm going to DNF that one, and then I am going to move on to the Immortality Thief by Taryn Hunt. This is another sci-fi horror following a group that is commissioned to go to this ship that has been sat on the outside of the world, and they think that it's been there for thousands and thousands of years. This is a world that is different from our own. It's set in space, but Earth is not really a part of it. From what I can tell, everything is just completely different, like solar system. I'm having a hard time with this one too, which is quite frustrating, but I do think I'm going to continue with this one. I'm not bored like I was in We Have Always Been Here, but there are a few things that are grating on my nerves. The first of which is the writing style. I'm not really loving it. It's very choppy, it's very repetitive, and it just doesn't flow very well, and so I'm having a hard time like getting in a groove with it, because my brain is constantly getting interrupted by phrases that are repeated way too close together, and it just kind of stutters my brain out a little bit. I don't know if that'll bother a lot of people, but it is something that I noticed. Our characters, for the most part, our main character has a very strong personality. You can tell that they're trying really, really hard to make Sean this particular type of character. I don't mind that particular type of character. I just hope that he doesn't stay one note and has a lot more depth. Unfortunately, because of that, all of the rest of the characters are really flat. I'm only about 100 pages into this, so I do still have quite a ways to go. It's a 600-page book, but I'm just really hoping that we get a little bit more development, and we are getting a little bit more backstory, but it's not very clear. Like I said, I don't think Earth is a part of this. That part is just not very clear to me, and if you're gonna do something set in a completely new world, I need for that to be a more clear thing. But then you can do ambiguous world building throughout the story. Like Touch of Light does that really well, where drops you in, you know this is not Earth, you know that it's a fantasy story, and you're just gonna expect to be told all of this stuff as you need to. And we are getting snippets of things that we need to know, but again, they're snippets, and I'm not feeling like even the little bits of information that we get are very surface level, and I'm concerned that it's gonna stay that way. I'm the type of reader, if you're gonna create a whole new world, awesome, please do. But you have to make it make logical sense to me, and you have to make me believe the world building. So far, this has not done that. So I'm curious to see if that continues. We have just gotten onto the ship, and there are these things called ministers that are not human, but I'm not really sure exactly what they are as of this moment. I think the horror elements are about to start kicking in, so I'm excited to continue it, but I'm a little bit concerned about how this is gonna go at the moment. It gets great reviews. You know, I was looking through Goodreads just to see if I could pinpoint kind of what I was being bothered by, and honestly, people love this. It's gotten some really good reviews. There was one review that did mention the writing style in a similar way to what I was feeling about it, so at least I know I'm not completely crazy, but for the most part, nobody's noticing that. Everybody's having a great time with this, so hopefully that means that once I kind of get settled into the groove, I will too. So that's kind of where I'm at on the hybrid point for right now. I am going to go back onto sprints. There's going to be all of the sprints. You're going to hear me say I'm going to go back on sprints quite a lot during these vlogs. But really quickly, I did want to show you guys my new chair setup here. I did decide to get a chair for the office. It's not as comfortable as I was hoping it would be. It kind of hugs your butt a lot. It's a type of memory foam, which is good and that's comfortable, but after a while I feel like I'm just kind of sinking into a hole. However, it is pretty comfortable while I'm sitting in it. Ollie is not happy about it because he can't get up here with me. It's only built for one person, so we've got a little poof beside me so that he can get closer to me, and whenever I decide to replace this, I may have to get something bigger so that he can get up here. But anyway, I like having a little bit of a setup in here for those times when David's being really loud in the living room and I need to get away from him. Let me show you guys what this looks like. Okay, so ignore the slight messiness at the moment, kind of some stuff back in the background, but this is the chair. It is a recliner, so I really like that about it, that it will lean back and I can just kind of kick up my feet and relax. The little poof that I have over here for Ollie to hang out with me. Love having a table to sit stuff on, but I think this is going to work really well and I'm excited to do more reading sprints from here. Okay guys, so I have a teeny tiny little update for you. I am currently about 45% into the Immortality Thief, and I'm liking this one better so far than I was before. I'm starting to slowly get more used to the writing style, and we are getting more into the horror elements. Things are starting to happen that are kind of like, ugh, creepy kind of feelings. I do feel like this is going to be a very basic sci-fi horror. I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of substance to it. I feel like she was trying to give us substance with some of the very basic world building and backstory that we get to Sean, but unfortunately so far it's not been enough. I really wish that she had set this in our world, in our space, in our universe, and then just made it a sci-fi horror. I think I would have liked it a lot more if it had been like that, rather than this attempt at a new world that really isn't explained well enough to make me feel like it's a new world and to really get interested in it. Occasionally we're getting snippets back to his past life and things that he did, but they're used in a way that makes what he's doing in the current context make more sense, or to give us like insights, but they don't really have any bearing on the story. So at the moment, this is just okay. I feel like I've already DNF'd one book. I don't need to DNF another. And it's not because this is bad. It's just because I'm like, do I really want to keep reading? Because this is long, but I'm already halfway through it, so we're going to keep going. I think this right now is feeling like a 3-star. I'm not disliking it. It's fine, but it's fine. So, talking about the fine book, then let's move on to Parasite by Mira Grant. I'm about 40% into this one. It's set in 2027, and it's following a woman who crashed her car into a bus and ended up in a coma, and then I think it was like 6 years later, the tapeworm implant that she had woke her up and saved her life. And these tapeworm implants are considered a basic like thing that everyone has, and they will like cure you from allergies and hangovers and just basic illnesses and things like that. They genetically modify your gut essentially. So far I'm really enjoying this one. Mira Grant has a way of making me bored yet intrigued all at the same time. I felt that way in Into the Drowning Deep. I felt that way in Feed. And I feel like she just does a good job of giving you something every once in a while to make you still want to keep reading, even though there's not just action-packed things going on. We are starting to get some more action-packed type stuff at the 35-40% mark. Things are starting to really happen. The main character is starting to learn more information, and I'm really enjoying that. So far as science level, I was hoping that this one would be super scientific, kind of like Into the Drowning Deep was, with a lot of horror elements. However, so far it seems to kind of sit in the middle between Feed and Into the Drowning Deep. So if you're talking about science elements, that it's going to be like Into the Drowning Deep is the most science heavy, then this one, and then Feed. If we're talking about horror elements, so far just kind of what I think is going to happen, it's going to follow the same pattern. Into the Drowning Deep had the most amount of horror kind of in the second half. Feed had some, but not quite as much. And then this one I think is going to have somewhere kind of in the middle. I think that one thing that is causing that pattern is because Feed and Parasite are both series, where Into the Drowning Deep is a standalone at the moment. I do know that she has plans to write a sequel if other novels were to sell better and she were to get that reach out there and the publisher would buy a sequel. There is the potential for one, but it was written as a standalone. So a lot of that science and horror had to be packed into the first novel, whereas in these, I feel like she was able to spread it out over 2 or 3 different books. I don't know, that could be me reaching, but that's just kind of what I feel like right now. So I'm really enjoying this one. I'm listening to this, really like the audiobook. I think that the narrator is doing a very good job. There's this part where she says hot, warm, dark, and it says it over and over and over again, and it's just kind of unsettling. I don't know if it's meant to be or not, but the narrator does a good job of doing it in such a deadpan type tone that I'm like, ooh, that's creepy. That's really creepy, but I don't know that it should be. It just unsettles me a little bit. So really enjoying this one, having a good time with it. So I need to finish a book tonight because I am so far behind. It's Monday. And I did have to go to work today. Work was busier than I was anticipating it would be, so I did not get to do as much reading at work as I normally would. And I'm also working on something new for the Patreon that's taken up a little bit of my time. I had to ask some questions for some people about that. Thinking I might maybe be able to finish this tonight. It reads really fast. And I'm halfway, and it's only 6:30. I feel like we could do it. You think I can do it? I feel like I can do it. Anyway, wish me luck, and I'll come back and talk to you guys. It'll either be later on Monday, in which case everyone give me a big thumbs up, or it'll be tomorrow or Wednesday, and you can boo me down in the comments. Okay, so I have a couple of interesting and exciting things to talk to you guys about. The first of which is going to be my final rating and walking through what prompts and how many points the Immortality Thief is going to get us. And then the second is unboxing a very, very exciting package. So we'll do that after this, but let's talk about the Immortality Thief first. This one I ended up not loving. I really wanted to. There were elements to this that I did enjoy, but it lost me pretty quick and never just regained that footing. I did not love Sean. I felt like he was a very one-note character and there were no side characters that had enough personality to pick up the slack. The attempt at creating a new world with the lack of world building just did not work for me. I would have much rather she said it in our solar system so that we would have a basis and basic understanding and she wouldn't have to do as much world building, but doing it the way that they did just did not work for me personally. And then I felt like we were just checking off boxes. This is a horror element, check. This is a horror element, check. And it didn't, just never really felt that horrific. There were some tense moments that I appreciated, so I guess this was more of a thriller. But either way, I just never really felt the connection to anything. I never really cared enough to fully get on board with this. I didn't like the writing style, so unfortunately it is going to get a 2-star from me, I think. And I am absolutely the unpopular opinion here. Most people loved this. I was looking at the Goodreads reviews to try to see if I could figure out why I felt the way that I did about it, but for the most part, everybody seemed to enjoy it, so I would still recommend giving it a try if it sounds like something you're interested in, because maybe I just didn't click with something in the very beginning and it impacted my enjoyment throughout. I don't know, but something, I can't really put my finger on it, but something in here just did not click for me. So I'm gonna put this down, but we're going to go through the submission form really quick and see how many points this is going to get for Ilma. Okay, so obviously clicking Ilma, the Immortality Thief, this particular edition is like 600 pages, and obviously we did not read it during peace talks. So then flipping into increasing or decreasing, I think I do want to use increasing for this one, so we're gonna select that. And let's go through the prompts and see how many points we're gonna get. So I like to scroll all the way down to the bottom and start from the bottom and work my way up so that we're getting the most amount of points. This was team genre, this was a hybrid genre, it is a sci-fi thriller, sci-fi horror, just depending on how you wanna class it. Either way it counts. Not an indie. It's not host favorite. To me, there's no like sources of light on here. I mean, I guess there could be like the little windows. I can't really tell if those are windows or not. If they're windows, I guess there's a source of light. What do you guys think? Does it count? I feel like it counts. I didn't notice that the windows had sources of light in them, that the lights were on. Okay, I guess it counts. So source of light, spell your name on the book. We have M-E-L, so definitely counts. A title with an emotion definitely doesn't. Weather related, no. New to me author, yes. Remember, we can only use 5 prompts, so now we have 3. The author does not use initials, not a retelling. I don't feel like it really had mental health rep. I feel like we could count it as underrated. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about this, even though it was a Goldsboro pick. And I did read it with an ebook. So there are our 5 prompts. So we're gonna see how much that counts for 12, 17, 20, 21 points just from our prompts. And then we get another 10 points for team genre, so 31, and another 10 points for hybrid, which is 41. So I feel like that was pretty successful. That's not a bad read for Team Ilma, 41 points. I also think that we get some extra points from the page count as well. So, and we'll definitely get more points for that, which is really exciting. So let me put down the computer and show you guys my very exciting, important package. Okay, so I'm not gonna show you, this is it. I'm not gonna show you the other side. It has my address on it. But it always makes me nervous using scissors on the tops of these packages because I'm like, what if I go too deep and hit the book? Anybody else like paranoid about that? Wow, they used some heavy duty tape on this sucker. And what is in here is actually going to be probably one of my reads this month. It'll likely be in the last week of the readathon. I'm going to be doing a anticipated reads vlog because I want to finish out the month nice and strong. So I think this will be in that week. Wow, this is packaged to the nines. I love how well they packaged it. Comes in lots and lots of bubble wrap. So we have a bookmark. So you guys can probably guess what this is by now. It's Infinity Gate by M.R. Carey. This is the Inkstone book, and this is a new subscription that does sci-fi fantasy books. It's a every third or a quarterly subscription that comes from the UK, so it did take me a little bit of time to get it, but it is much more affordable because it's quarterly. This first book, I think they did a really good job with. I mean, it's got beautiful orange sprayed edges, but I am hoping that they step up their game a little bit because we really don't have stenciled edges, we don't have end pages, and there's like nothing on the hardcover. However, I do know from looking at the next book that they're going to be doing that they managed to make sure that there was like embossing on the hardcover as along with the sprayed edges. So I'm hoping that they will continue to step up their game. And as long as each month gets better and better and better, I will continue to support them because this was a great pick, and I'm really excited about the April, May, and June pick as well. I'm not going to tell you what that is. You can always go look it up if you're interested. I know some people don't like spoilers, so anyway, this was the first 3 months pick. Very happy to have this. Cannot wait to read it. I've heard some really good things about it. It's on my Our Fantasy TBR, and I'm so excited to have this. And I think that's all that I have for you guys right now. I've got about an hour left of Parasite, so I should be finishing that pretty quickly, and if I do, hopefully I can walk you guys through and we'll do another update for that and see how many points that one gets me. But for now, I need to get back to reading because your girl is slumping pretty hard. I feel like we need a win and we haven't gotten a win yet, and I need a win and we're just not there. So anyway, I'm gonna go finish off Parasite. Hopefully that'll be our win. Okay guys, a vlog clip. Finishing book round 2. I have now finished Parasite by Mira Grant. This one I did end up enjoying a little bit better than the other two, which was really nice to finally have a book that I did not mind picking up, that I was enjoying reading. This, I think I already told you what this is about, but it is a sci-fi horror that is about parasites. And again, on the scale of Into the Drowning Deep, Feed, and Parasitology, this one kind of hits in the middle on pretty much everything science and horror. I was hoping it would be a little bit more science-based and the horror would kick in a little bit sooner, but overall, I did really enjoy it and have a good time. As always, the ending picked up pace a lot more, and we got a lot more information and reveals and things started to happen. I do feel like there was a couple of logic issues for me in this one that I struggled with a little bit, possibly because it just wasn't sciencey enough for me. It wasn't giving me those full explanations that I was looking for. But I still really enjoyed it. I thought that Sal was an interesting character to read from. There were moments where I was in the car going, like, shouting, "You've got to be kidding me," or "Girl, you're gonna have to do something about that." So, like, it did actively get a reaction from me in moments, which I feel like is always a good sign. So, I think I'm gonna end up giving this one a low 4, high 3. I can't completely decide what I want to do yet as far as that goes. I feel like I enjoyed it pretty well, but there's something that's, when I did it in the spreadsheet, it did come out to exactly an 8, which is the bottom of the rung 4-star. There's something about it that's prohibiting me from like giving it the full 4-star though, so I think I'm going to sit on it overnight and decide for sure what I'm going to end up rating it like on Goodreads officially. But with that being said, let's quickly go through what it's going to get me for Ilma. I did look because I told you guys that I wasn't sure how many points the page count was going to get me, and the last book was 608 pages, so it got me 30 extra points, whereas this one is 502 pages, so it's going to get me 20 extra points. So we already start with a base 20. Because of the page length of the book. We're going to click Ilma, we're going to do Parasite, we're going to do 500, what did I say, 504? Guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah. 504 pages. We did not read this during the 24 hours. I'm still, I think, gonna stick with increasing. If it doesn't get me enough points, we'll just back it up and decide in a minute. It is the team genre, it is the hybrid genre, but it is published by Orbit, so not indie. Spell your name. M-E, and then bestseller has an L in it, so we can, whoop, count. That is spell your name. Not an emotion, not weather, not new. We may end up having to switch to a attack prompt for this one. It is underrated. Okay, so I actually think I'm gonna go back and we're gonna select decreasing and let's see if that gets me any better points. What is that, 50 points now? Because of, no, 40 points because 20 plus the realm genre and the hybrid genre. Word related to another realm. I almost feel like Parasite could be a sanctum word, because when I think of Parasite, I think of just like gross things that involve horror usually. So I think we could do that. Nobody I know of had it on their TBR. It's definitely 100% a dysfunctional family. Author does use a pseudonym, so there's 3 prompts. This is actually the pseudonym for Shauna McGuire. And I did listen to it on audio. So it's not giving me as many points as I was hoping. We're only gonna be able to use 4 prompts, but it does give me the 20 page count, 20 bonus points, and then, so that's 40, 46, 51, 56, and 57. So a negative 57. And who are we going to attack with this one? I'm thinking that we need to attack Sanctum, because I feel like Lexi's been coming for me and we need to teach her a little bit of a lesson. What do you guys think? Let's do it. All right, submit. I feel like those are 2 very good books for Team Ilma. I'm so excited to have finally logged some books. Next up is either going to be probably Pines by Blake Crouch. This one's really short, but Cassidy said that it got like a negative 56 points or something like 56 points when she read it while she was on Team Ilma. So I think that this will be a really, really good one to read quickly on the way to and from work tomorrow. I don't think it's going to take me very long, but we'll see. If I can, I'll update you throughout the book. You may get a phone car update, we'll see, but I'll touch back in with you guys once I've read some and we'll see how it's going. I'm really excited for this one because Lexi really, really likes it.
So really quickly, I wanted to give you guys an update on Wayward Pines. I am about 40-ish, I guess, percent of the way into this. I was able to listen to a lot of it on the way to work this morning. There was construction. Anyway, it took longer than expected. And I think I'm liking it so far. I'm very intrigued, but I do feel like we're kind of running around in circles, which is the intention. It's to give you that kind of unease and confusion that Agent Burke is feeling, but I do feel like we're kind of chasing our tail at this point, and I'm waiting on something else to start happening, because if we're going to do this same thing for 300 pages, I'm going to get really bored really fast and my intrigue is going to wear off. But currently, still intrigued, still liking it. I do want to know what's going on in this town. Everyone is very creepy and very just off in general. The nurse, I kind of want to punch. She is so very obnoxious, but anyway, that's the point. So just a quick update. I don't really have a whole lot to say, but I'm excited to continue on my way home this afternoon.
Okay, so wow, we're going to ignore this disaster that is currently going on behind me so that we can talk about Pines by Blake Crouch. And maybe if I hold it up like way over here, you won't be able to see the mess, so just ignore the mess and focus on the book. I don't think that I gave you guys any synopsis for this. I barely gave you any thoughts, and I flew through this book. It's not very long, and I just binged it essentially on my way to work. This is following Agent Ethan Burke, who is going to Wayward Pines to investigate why 2 of the other special agents have gone missing, and he wakes up and has no idea who he is, where he is, and what is going on in this town. I don't want to tell you a whole heck of a lot more than that because it could get into spoiler territory really quick, and I think part of the fun for me in this book was not really knowing what was going on. I somehow managed to avoid knowing much of anything about this, and so I really enjoyed kind of the guessing game of what direction this book was going to end up going in, and that really worked for me. Most of my thoughts on this are very positive. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. I liked the direction and stuff that we went. I do feel like the pacing at moments was a little bit off. The beginning felt like it was quite slow and we were doing a lot of the same thing over and over again. I do wish the amnesia part had lasted a little bit longer. Then we got to about the 50% mark and breaknecked it down through to the end. I wish that we had drawn out the ending a little bit more and shortened some of the repetitive stuff in the beginning, but I still was not drastically bored. This book is short. There wasn't a lot of pacing issues, but they were there. I did unfortunately have some logic issues with this, but again, they're not huge problems. It's a bunch of little stuff that just for me was like, wait, what? How did that happen? Why is that happening kind of issues? The ending, like I said, was completely breakneck, and I really, really enjoyed the end and the way that everything wrapped up and the direction that it went in. But there was a moment where I texted Cassidy and I was like, I have 20 minutes left of this book. Should I be confused? Because I suddenly just got really confused. We took a sharp left turn and went into a territory that I was not expecting it to go. And I kind of wish that the moments leading up to that had been a little bit more drawn out so that it didn't feel quite so stark and drastic, because I really liked the direction that it went. It just way took me off guard and it made me feel like I had completely missed something. I would have liked that to have been drawn out a little bit more. So overall, thoroughly enjoyed this. So happy to have read it. And I almost just want to go straight into book 2. Like, I don't have time for that, but I want to. So I might. Like, I have a free day tomorrow. I could. We'll see. I don't know. I didn't tell you guys what I rated this. I actually think I'm going to rate it a high 3-star. The logic problems did kind of get me a little bit. Agent Burke's character as a whole was slightly aggravating, but in an intentional way. And the other members of Wayward Pines were very creepy. But Teresa was just, I don't really understand like the purpose of her or her chapters. And I feel like we could have had slightly stronger side character moments. So between the logic and the characters, we did get it brought down just a little bit. But still a really high 3. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't wait to move on to the sequel. So we need to go through and do the points for this one. I think Cassidy said that it got like 50 something points, so we should be pretty good as far as all of that goes. Okay, so finally got the submission form pulled up. Obviously we're Team Elma. We read Pines and it is 308 pages. Yeah, we did not read it for the 24-hour readathon, so automatically with it being 308 pages, it gets an additional 10 points. So we've already got 10 points going in. I think we're gonna try for increasing and see if yeah, that's the prompt I need. So it was our team genre. It is a hybrid genre. Even though technically it was published by Berkeley, it's still an indie because that's been within the last year and it was indie first, so we are going to count it. I do want to say that like indie for this readathon really was intended to like get people to look up authors and books that they never would have heard of before. So I feel like I'm stretching the indie prompt by using it, but also I feel like I would get yelled at by Team Ilma if I didn't use it because it does count. So that's already 40 points right there. It's not a host favorite. It would have been, but Lexi decided not to choose it, so that's kind of annoying. So we can spell my name on the book. We've got Dark Matter, which is an M, E in Crouch, an L in Blake, so definitely counts as spell your name. I don't think Pines is like it's not a weather related word. It's more like a nature related word, so I don't think we can use that. I feel like we could do mental health rep. I feel like it is underrated because out of all of the Blake Crouch books that I have read or heard people talk about, Pines is like one of the least ones that's ever mentioned. It's always Dark Matter, Recursion, or Upgrade. I feel like nobody ever talks about the Wayward Pines series, so definitely counts for that. I do feel like it plays with history. I'm not going to give you any more than that. And it was a buddy read book. So that's 1, 3, 6, 10, 6. So that's like, what, 66 points or something like that? That seems crazy. Cassidy may watch this back and be like, girl, you were stretching it. But, I mean, I feel like it counts. I feel like it counts. So with the page count, it is 66 prompts, or 66 points. So hit submit on that. And yeah, so that's a wrap on Pines. I actually do need to talk to you guys though, because I have read a little bit of The Passengers since I last spoke to you guys. I have found the audiobook for it and I've actually got the ebook now, so I'm probably gonna do like a combo deal for that. The Passengers is by John Mars and it is one of the like companion novels with The One and The Minders. And I've already read both The One and The Minders. I know The Minders spoils The Passengers, but like I don't remember anything about it, so that doesn't bother me. And it's about people that get locked into these cars and they're all going at a certain velocity and are going to head on collide with each other if the like government doesn't do what this hacker wants. It's definitely a techno thriller, which is not something that I knew was really a thing, but it's something I think I really, really like. So I am really excited to continue reading it. I'm enjoying it so far. Lexi was like on the edge of her seat, like visceral reactions to it. I'm not exactly stressed while reading it, but I am enjoying it and the conversations that it's having. I think part of the reason that I'm not feeling a lot of emotion toward it was because I was trying to read it while at work. And so I wasn't able to I mean, I was focusing on it and giving it 100%, but I also wasn't able to binge it. And so if you ever got to that like tense moment, somebody would come in and interrupt me and I would have to stop. So the tenseness of the moment would then go away. When I picked it back up, we would have to start that kind of emotion all over again. So I'm only, like I said, 30% into it and enjoying it so far. I think that because I'm home tonight, I'm just gonna try to binge the rest of it. I've only got like 2.5 hours left. It's not a very long book. And I'm excited to see why Lexi absolutely loved it. I know Cassidy enjoyed it. So I'm gonna go hop back on sprints, no one's surprised, and read a little bit more of The Passengers. Okay guys, it's the end of the week and it's time to wrap up my thoughts on The Passengers as well as give you just kind of my final thoughts and wrap up this vlog. So first, let's talk about my final thoughts on The Passengers by John Mars. I ended up really enjoying this one. It is fast-paced. It has a lot of conversations on society and how people react to situations like this, especially when they're put in control of how things are going to play out and the like hive mindset that comes from stuff like this. I thought that that was really, really cool. Who's going to be on what side? I thought that, again, it was very action-packed, or at least not action-packed in the way that you would think of like fight scenes, but it had a lot of tension and was very well done in that regard. There were a few little things that logically I just found to be lacking a little bit, and so I don't think that it's going to get a full 5 stars, but I do think it's going to get a 4-star for me. Really enjoyed it. Definitely my favorite of the like companions in that world. The Minders, the One, and the Passengers is my favorite out of the 3. The One I really enjoyed, but the ending irritated me, and then the Minders just wasn't for me. Didn't particularly love it. So let's see how many points this is going to get for Team Ilma. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna click Ilma, obviously. We read the Passengers. I need to look and see because I don't actually know how many pages it is. I read the audiobook, so I'm just gonna have to look up whatever Goodreads says the page count is. So Goodreads says it's 400 pages, so I guess that's what we're going with. And we didn't read it for the 48-hour readathon. So next, I'm gonna try to do increasing for this. I like to defend as much as possible, but of course sometimes we have to get some attack points in there. It is the team genre, it is hybrid, it is not indie. I don't feel like there's a source of light on here. I feel like that's just like zooming past. Honestly, I'm not seeing anything that this could really be used for other than maybe underrated books so far. And multi-POV, so that's 5 points. I think I could count it as a buddy read because I did kind of read it and talk about it with Cassidy and Lexi. So that's 6 points. And I did read partially the ebook and partially the audiobook, so I could probably do that. But really quickly, let's just see what we would get if we did decreasing, just because I want to know. Steal a book from an enemy TBR, definitely could do that because Lexi read it, so that's a -6. Dysfunctional family. Yes, I think that that could count with one of the points of views. I don't really think, I guess you could count the cars as an isolated setting, but I just don't know that I'm going to count that. I did not buy this book. I don't know about the spine. I did listen to the audiobook. I don't know that this one is really that dark. I know that one of the editions has a dark cover and there is dark spots on this cover. So this is the UK cover. It's not the cover that I read, but could we count that as a dark cover? I feel like we could. It's got dark elements to it. So that's going to be the points, I think. So we got 10, 20 for hybrid and realms, -26, -31, -35, and -36. I'm not going to do dark cover because I'm talking myself out of it. So -36 points. Who are we going to attack? I feel like the romance readers are pulling ahead. We've already attacked Sanctum once. We don't need to do it twice. And I feel like the romance readers are pulling ahead. So we're going to attack Cyrus, be kind of strategic about this, and hit submit. Okay, so -36 points against Cyrus. I feel like we did great. We've actually, I say -36, but we're actually going to get a couple of extra points for the page count too. So that's going to work out really, really well. So that's a wrap on the Passengers. Really quickly, let me just remind you what I read during this vlog and my thoughts. I did DNF We Have Always Been Here. It was just not the slow, exciting thriller horror that I thought it was going to be. So unfortunately, I DNF'd this one and it's probably going to be leaving my house soon. I read The Pines, thoroughly enjoyed it, gave this one a high 3-star just because of some logic issues. But I think that hopefully is going to be done away with in the second and the third books, because this is very much so a setup book. Really enjoyed it. This got me lots of points. I think it got me like negative 56 points or something for Team Ilma. Then Parasite by Mira Grant. Also really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it a very low 4-star, high 3. I haven't completely committed to a rating on this one yet. I enjoyed it. I did find it to be quite slow and meandering for a lot of the book, but that's also just kind of the way Mira Grant writes. Bored yet intrigued is something that I almost always say about her books, and then the ending just ramps up the ante, which this one did as well. I didn't find anything overly shocking in here. I know there were supposed to be some like twists and turns, but it felt like that was just the way it was going to be from the very first page, but I still really enjoyed it. Thought that it was good. This is a sci-fi horror, and I think that one gave me a pretty decent amount of points too, because it's chunky. Then the Immortality Thief by Taryn Hunt. I did not particularly enjoy this one. Again, there were a lot of problems with world building and character development in this for me. I think that I could have liked it if it had been set in our universe and had stopped trying so hard to world build when it wasn't accomplishing that. But overall, I ended up giving this one a 2-star, which is sad. I am the majorly unpopular opinion for this one, but it did give me lots of points because it's over 600 pages. It's a horror, it's a sci-fi horror hybrid, and it's in my team's genre, so it got us a lot of points, if nothing else. And then you guys just saw me wrap up The Passengers. So I think that's everything for the Hybrid Week vlog. Thank you guys so very much for watching. We have managed to get a lot of points for Team Ilma so far, or attacking other teams so far. I can't wait to continue the rest of the weeks. If you guys enjoyed this video and just want to let me know that you were here, leave me a planet emoji down in the comments below, and keep on the lookout for next week's vlog. I think, if you guys just want a quick hint, I am going to be doing what do I like in sci-fi. So there are a lot of exciting books on that list that I feel like are very popular in the book sphere. So keep an eye out for that. As always, links to my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads are all in the description box down below. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!